might be wondering why Automann starts talking today, but I thought we have a special car and things have to move on, so I decided to have a quick tech tour actually of the AMG GT S that I'm currently sitting in. Especially once we look on the center console, you see a lot of buttons on there, and as many of you always ask, okay, which driving mode were you in? Did you use the race mode or the Sport Plus button? What does it actually do? I thought it would be a good thing to just give you, for this car, actually a little tech tour. If you think Automann talking, that's not what we really want to see, you can also make the thumbs down button, that's okay for me. We will have all the drive and sound videos, the pure sound videos and the pure acceleration runs on the Autobahn coming as well, of course. This won't be a talking channel anytime soon, I guess, but I thought something new would be okay for you. I do it in English today, although we have probably 50% coming from Germany, but I guess it's understandable. So first thing, what do you need to do? So once you are on your way to the Mercedes dealership and you want to do a test drive with the AMG GT S and you want to show off to all your friends and you want to make sure that you have the best settings available, actually the first thing that you need to do is, and I have the machine currently running because it's 35 degrees out there, the first thing before you turn on the engine, so I turn it off for now, is actually that you open the exhaust valves in the back. So this is actually this button, hope the camera sharpens up. You press the ignition once to turn it on. Second time you press the ignition to have really power running through all the systems. You can already see the air conditioner is coming up, and then you have to hit the exhaust valve button. So pressing that little button, and now the exhaust valve will open before you start the car, regardless which driving mode you're in. So starting up the car, quiet for a moment. So here that's definitely being louder than the normal mode. For comparison reasons you can actually turn it off. And now see what it does. So it's really flat now from the sound, really flat compared to actually every other supercar, but very strong compared to every normal car. So I usually drive in town with that mode on. The next thing that you actually probably would use once you are on the road is the driving mode selector. So actually I know everybody is talking all the time, okay, put it in race mode, and the first thing you do, get out of the garage, put it in race mode. That's of course nonsense, because you want to drive comfortable, the steering needs to be good in town. So the first thing that you actually do is you keep it in comfort. It's the best mode. You can always have the sound, the engine is pulling from low down because it's not in the Sport Plus mode or whatever, it's not downshifting all the time. It got 700 Newton meters of torque, so you don't need the downshifting all the time. Actually, once I'm on the Autobahn, I would recommend you go in Sport or Sport Plus. Actually, you can already hear if you go Sport Plus that the RPMs are going up a bit, so I can actually show that. Going back to comfort, and now once we go to Sport, nothing really changes, but once you go to Sport Plus, you can see the RPMs are picking up by 200 or so. If you go to race mode, it's having actually the same thing. What I have realized on the road is that the only difference between the Sport Plus and the race mode, more or less, is that the popping out of the exhaust is even louder, and that the traction controls get turned down even more, or that you can actually power slide the thing. So we have 35 degrees and it's super dry, so the tires stick actually perfectly. Turn that down so don't waste fuel too much. The tires are sticking perfectly to the road, but still you have all the power available at the rear wheels, and you do drifting and power sliding all the time. We did it in a normal way, so we won't harm the tires so much, and I only tried it out once. So because this is a car from Torpedo Garage, actually, I mean, they want to sell it again, so I'm treating it as it would be my own car. I don't want to waste more material than necessary for those run. So the second thing actually, so let's say you take selecting Sport or Sport Plus once you're on the Autobahn. In the city actually it doesn't make any sense, so keep it in comfort. You can have the nice growl from the V8, and you can keep that. So once we're now looking on the other side, an interesting button that is also with some newer AMGs now is this transmission button. So that's actually a manual transmission mode. I don't know if you've seen my C63 performance pack from the older model, and we had a lot of discussion about why isn't it downshift downshifting, or why isn't it upshifting when I wanted to have it. Actually, I had it in the wrong mode. I was always running in Sport Plus and was expecting it actually takes the shifting pedals once I hit them. So now they have done it a better way. So you can, regardless of what mode you're in, so this is more like engine, transmission a bit from a shifting speed, and of course steering and suspension. But now you can put it in M. So if you want to, for example, do the 7th gear pull through that I have also done, and that I actually put into put onto YouTube, of course, in a few days, you can just select the manual mode, and what it does then is actually it shows you also on the display that you're in manual mode. One mode that we haven't even talked about is the individual mode. So when I take that one, there's a pre-setting, or actually an individual setting that I can do in the settings. And once I now go up in this menu, I can also actually go back one more time. I can go onto configure, or anpassen, how we say it in German. So I don't want to have it in the race mode, actually no, Sport Plus. I say, okay, engine, I want to have it sporty, but I don't want the increased RPMs all the time. Suspension, usually I would select comfort, because I want to have the comfort ride on the Autobahn. In this case, actually, as the steering tends to be a bit soft, and actually if you're driving speeds over 220, 230 kilometers per hour, I am going for sport, because that's probably the best thing you could take. Transmission, that's hard to say, but I drive, so manual is too much. You don't want to shift all the time. Drive is the best thing. Sport exhaust, I think you know the answer, so it needs to be Sport Plus. And the ESP, of course, needs to be fully on. I mean, you can put it in sport, that allows those power slides, but I would actually not recommend it. I mean, where would you need it? You're tearing your tires up. It's unsafe. The insurance won't pay for it. I mean, what's the reason for it on a public road? So you can now see all those settings that I've selected, and I can actually also go back into some other menus to go back. Actually, it's the dynamic select button in here, where you can actually go through all the modes, and once you go through from comfort, sport plus, or even racetrack, you can see how those different presettings are actually changing. I'm about actually to return the car, so it was a very, very good experience to drive the AMG GT, especially, I mean, as I drove the C63 S, which has the same engine, of course, but you just sit lower in this car. I mean, you have this nice, actually you can see the mirrors are more or less what the AMG, the SLS, the predecessor, also had. It looks nicer. The windows are pretty small. You have more sports car feel, although it's a very comfortable and everyday driving car. Nice seats that we can see. Oh, my gloves. And I actually really enjoyed it. And the main difference to the C63S that I drove is the transmission. So the C63 has this AMG speed shift, which is more or less like a conventional transmission, but this one is the double clutch transmission, which is, I think, from German transmission supplier Getrag, as far as I know, which is more or less the same that the Ferrari California had, and somehow similar, I think, even to the one that's in the 458 Italia, and of course similar to the one that they used in the predecessor in the SLS. So actually a very, very good transmission. The shifting is a lot faster. You will see that in the drive and sound video, and also in the acceleration run. All the videos that you watch, keep in mind that we have, yesterday when we were filming and today, we have a temperature of around 35 degrees. So you can really, I mean, engine and transmission temperature never exceeded anyway, but you can definitely feel that the car has a bit less power than what it might have if you have like 25 degrees or 20 degrees. I realized that I'm sitting at my usual place here, where you can actually see that I'm usually filming all the cars. It's actually a location close to Kaiserslautern in Germany, and we have the good possibility with great tarmac, and in the evening also less traffic, to also do our testing here all the time. Okay, so this was not only a quick tour, but actually a long tour, as I realized. I tend to talk a lot, at least once I'm not on YouTube. So let's discuss about it. If that's something that you want to hear more often, that you want to hear some more background stories, or if you say, well, I'm just fine if I get my usual pure sounds, drive-in sounds and acceleration clips, and I don't want to hear that much more, that's also okay. I don't think that we want to spoil the format, we don't want to change anything. We're just trying something right and left, something new all the time. So guys, thank you very much. Guys and girls, actually, we have 8% female subscribers. And therefore, I guess, stay tuned for all the clips that are coming.